All right, so this is Balancing Life and Art with me. I'm Desi Saint
And I'm Jon Saint
And
All right, so we are, well, I'll start with myself. I am a middle school art teacher, as I said earlier. I'm a father to two boys, and I'm also an aspiring graphic novelist that's been working on graphic novels or getting stuff out there for a number of years, but more recently, also trying to learn how to tattoo. So I'm learning from friends and practicing on fake skin.
And I work as an ad copywriter now for an agency, but I was a high school English teacher for 18 years. I also share two boys with Jon, and I'm an aspiring kidlit writer. So in the chat, I'd like you to tell us which meme best matches your mood. So everybody take a moment and choose which one. You can choose more than one if you want.
Or maybe there's none of them apply.
I guess, yeah, none. I don't know. I feel like we're all one of these, or your most recent mood. Here, let's see the chat. Open the chat.
Okay.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of one.
Yeah. I think I'm a one as well.
Yeah. Okay, 3 and 4. Yeah, one is always, I feel like one is like my perpetual mood, and then 3 is like pretty often. I feel like, yeah, 2 this morning. Oh man, that's so funny. Well, okay, I just want to break that down because, we've all been overwhelmed, and Jon and I have been overwhelmed. I feel like it's been a constant state for like since we became parents for pretty much.
Yeah, but especially so maybe the last 3 years.
Yeah. So yeah, it's okay. We're all in this together. And honestly, like I'm overwhelmed right now, but it's okay. We work through it. So first tip I want to go over is seeing the big picture. And this is a technique called mind mapping. I taught my students and they would kind of like scoff at it. Like, what is this? But actually, the more we did it, the more they realized how useful it was. It's really helpful for a lot of things. Breaking through writer's block, if any of you have ever experienced that, okay, sure we have, then it helps. But it also is really great for setting goals, like big picture goals, like for the month or for the year or for the week. It's also great for pros and cons. It's also great for anticipating like what times are busier, like maybe August is going to be a really busy month for you and you can kind of outline what's going on. Or just habits, like you can make a mind map of the habits you want to break or the habits you want to adopt. So it can really be useful. And what works really well with mind mapping is it replicates the way our brain neurons connect. So it's limitless. If you forget something, you just add it in, which I like a lot better than having like an outline where I have to like fit things in that I forgot later. So we're going to take a few minutes right now and mind map something that is on our mind. Like maybe it's our goals for August, since we're going to start August soon. Maybe it's habits you want to adopt or your goals for this coming year. So I'm going to do one too. I have paper here. The central circle is your central topic, and then you're just going to branch out from there. So let's take 5 minutes. I'm going to set my timer. Okay, 5 minutes. And I'm going to have you guys all show your mind map on your little screen if you can, if you're comfortable. Okay, ready, set, go. And you don't have to write complete sentences. Short phrases are great.
Can you just briefly explain exactly what I should be doing while I write?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so draw a mind map in the middle circle, choose a topic. So you could do goals for August if you want, or goals for 2024, since we're almost done with 2023, halfway through. And then just branch off to anything that you think of for that topic. So for me, I'm doing August goals. So here, my first branch is keep promoting 3B Honey, and here, clean up the yard. It doesn't have to be creative goals. Here I have, get ready for back to school. Maybe some of your goals are reading a new book, picking up a workout habit. Does that make sense, Patrick?
Yes, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. And it can be messy. All right. We have about 3.5 more minutes. So keep going as best you can. Keep going. We have 2 more minutes. Just keep adding stuff to it. Okay, about 1 more minute. You can add to what you have. Okay, 30 seconds. All right. 3, 2, 1. Find a place to stop. Okay, so my mind map is very messy. As you can see, I have very messy writing, but that's okay. But mine were, back to school, like cleaning out the backpacks, book the tutor for my older son, finish a CCA course on copywriting, update my website, go to the doctor's appointments, clean the yard, clean out the garage, keep promoting 3B Honey. So it was all kinds of stuff. And Jon had a couple of examples
Yeah,
too.
I mean, I did one for August as well. Just a list of graphic novel, promoting, finishing, sketching the pages, the amount of time I work per day, and then tattoo practice, so fake skins, and then maybe try one on my own skin at some point. School, preparing for school, simplifying my curriculum, and then also doing a curriculum schedule. And then for chores, I just have a cluster of chores coming off there. But actually in my class, we do mind maps. This is an example. So we have self-portrait mind maps. Oh, thank you. And so I encourage the students to draw themselves really crazy or weird, and then branching it off into a variety of different categories. So foods that I like. These are artists that I like. So I drew each artist in their own style. And then favorite animals, I didn't finish that one. Bucket list items, and then hobbies, family. And then over here was movies and TV shows. So it can be used for all kinds of things.
What I like about it is that it gives us clarity, when we're so overwhelmed. So that's mind mapping. And you want to talk about the next one?
Yeah. So whenever you're struggling, it's always good to switch it up. If you're frustrated with a task, or if there's something that is just giving you a lot of stress, you hit a wall, just step away, do something else. It'll actually work another part of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, I like playing video games when I have a chance. And I read somewhere that if you're stuck on a level or not getting through something, take a break and come back and do something else, come back later, and you'll have fresh eyes and you'll be able to see the problem from a different perspective. And so also, stimulate another part of your brain. It's a way to not just strain yourself. And so if you're writing, pull weeds. If you're illustrating, go for a walk or run. Also meditation and exercise. I know it's repeated over and over again. It sounds kind of cliche, but for example, our sister-in-law has been inviting us to this meditation. It's like a Buddhist center.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do meditations maybe once. We're trying to do it once a month, but it's an entire group thing. We just sit there and it's 30 minutes of meditation. And when we leave, our minds are just so like refreshed, and it's a different feeling than maybe a workout or, taking a nap. But yeah, that's just switching it up is always a good thing to do when things are getting tough. You don't have to finish it right away.
You have to think of it as recharging your battery, because it's really easy to try to keep going when you're on empty, but you're not going to be productive. So you have to just step away and do something else, recharge, come back, and you'll actually be more efficient and more productive when you have that. And that's hard for me to do too.
Yeah. And also we used to watch a show with our kids called Brain Games on Netflix. And they did this experiment where they gave two groups of adults a task. And one group got to take a break and the other group got to work straight through it. And they found that the group that took the break were actually more satisfied and more efficient in completing the task than those who tried to just kind of go through the whole thing and suffer through it.
So our next tip is make micro goals. So just like the mind map is kind of getting the bigger picture of what's important, what you want to do, the micro goals are really important, that they are achievable within, a short period of time. So I actually, because my brain is so like chaotic, I have to make a to-do list every day, or it does not happen. Like I'll make a to-do list on there to like read for 15 minutes or call the doctor to make the appointment, because I will forget, because so much is going on that I cannot keep track of everything. So make it bite-sized, quantifiable, the smaller part of a whole, and you don't have to be creative here. So a good example would be work on author website for 30 minutes. That's quantifiable. You can actually measure that, right? But putting create author website is nebulous. That takes a lot of work, and you'll feel discouraged if you can't check that off, because it takes a few sessions of work to do that, right? So you want to make it so that you feel you feed into your motivation that you did it and you can do it again and again and again to get something done. So it's kind of like eating a watermelon, right? You can't eat the watermelon all at once. You have to break it into pieces that are easily consumable. So we're going to practice. I'm going to have you guys make a list. And this is an example, this image of what I did today. So walk the dog, water the plants, 15-minute workout, module 1 of the CCA course. So it's just one module, write 20 headlines. I had to do that for my work today. So 3 minutes, let's go ahead and write some micro goals and write as many as you can that you can accomplish in a short period of time. Okay. And we're going to share on the chat some examples that you came up with. Okay. Ready? I'm going to set my timer. Ready, set, go. Okay, we're halfway through. A minute and a half. Feel free to add or make sure they're quantifiable, not too vague or nebulous. All right, 30 seconds left. If you're done already, you can go ahead and type in the chat an example of something you put on your list so we can get some ideas of a quantifiable bite-sized goal. 10 seconds left. All right, that's time. Find a place to stop and let's see what you have. Make dinner. That's a good one. Then I had mine on the picture. Go ahead and add, oh, okay, color in 2 panels. That's a good one. Walk 1 mile, get gas for the car, pick and freeze apricots.
Nice.
Very specific emails. Yeah. And so what I like about this, draw 1 illustration for the calendar, stretch for 5 minutes, work on painting for 30 minutes, send 24-hour reminder to critique group, spend 1 hour designing t-shirt concept on Procreate.
So I have an example that another way to look at this. If you have a larger task, the way that I'll show this on the screen, it's going to be kind of small, but so I'm in the process of organizing my studio. There's just a lot of, it's become like a storage unit instead of a place I can work comfortably. So I don't know if you can see, but on the bottom, I have fill a studio trash can, and I have 4 boxes. So every trash can that I fill, I just cross it off. That way I'm working toward the overall goal of cleaning the studio, but it's quantifiable because it's easy to just say, you know, okay, that trash can's full, we're making progress. And so instead of just saying, organize studio, that's too nebulous and vague.
I see research 1 agent for 30 minutes, work on query letter for 30 minutes. So those are great. And the reason why I like these and I feel like they're effective is that, again, when we feel like we're accomplishing things, we see our progress. Like at the end of the day, we could say, yeah, I was really productive today, even though it was really busy, like I got a lot done, and it feeds into that motivation to keep going. We want to keep ourselves motivated because it's really easy to kind of just stop and feel overwhelmed. So that's another strategy that I like to use.
All right, so the tip number 4 is to automate or repurpose when possible. So I've seen this topic come up on KCU quite a bit. It's about flatting. Every comic artist who works digitally hates flatting or hates, you know, having a color. And so there's a website that I use. I think I may have posted it a while ago, but it's called flatto.nl. It's excellent as long as you have closed lines and you send your image as a PNG. It will flat your image within a minute or so, and then you download that file, slip it under the line art, and it makes it so much faster. So that's flatto.nl. So any accomplishment you do, anything you check off your list, if it is something that you think your followers or family or friends would like, you know, like finishing a page or reading a book, then, you know, use it to advertise or promote yourself on social media. You can make templates. There was a great newsletter, Lunch and Learn, that we had that was all about seasonal templates for newsletters. So creating those ahead of time and then just plugging in information to make them seem, you know, more unique than they really need to be. And then not recreating the wheel, not having to redo things when you don't need to. It's kind of a tip, but something we do specifically with our house is we have takeout night. If it's a really tough week, we'll have takeout nights, plural. But Desi is really good about making food that's enough for a family of 4 with leftovers, but not only the same leftover, repurposing the food differently. So for example, if it's seasoned chicken, we'll have, tacos one night, and then we can use that seasoned chicken in Alfredo another night, for example. So, really planning that. She actually has like a schedule of things. She has a schedule of things ahead of time, like planning out her week of what she needs to buy at the store, what she needs to cook, and that sort of thing.
I have a shopping list on my notes app, and I just update it when I know what I'm going to need for that week. And I try to just go to the store once that week.
And then the last tip, if you're a parent, involving your kids. So a great example of this, we had our son edit our video for the Crowdfundr comic. So we got all the footage, we gave it to him, and he knows iMovie. Kids are very tech savvy, I mean, more than we are. And so by getting him involved, he feels like he has some ownership. He's, he doesn't feel like a burden. He's more like a part of the team. And then so when people make comments like, oh, I love the editing, he's beams with pride because he got to be a part of it. So that's some things you can do.
So tip 5, I know we kind of talked about, taking a break, but really this is about like fun breaks, like not work related, not craft related, not creative project related, just fun, like guilt-free fun. Okay. So it's important because it does feed your brain. It does boost your motivation as well. And it can fuel inspiration. You can get an idea, some kind of like inspirational nugget from something totally random and disconnected. You could be struggling on a picture book, and then you go and play like Call of Duty and you get some idea like, oh, wait, maybe that's something. And obviously you're not going to use Call of Duty in a picture book, but what I'm saying is like, it could kind of trigger something that was kind of blocked. So you kind of have to step away. But one thing, if you want to share one of your things.
Yeah. Well, so I love playing RPGs. And, for writers, you hear a lot of people talking about Dungeons and Dragons. So being creative, and it seems like it's fun, but it's great for a social, aspect. But also another thing that I want to bring up is Jake Parker calls it a creative bank account. And so he's the guy who came up with Inktober. And he talks about like just going out and seeing the world, having fun, watching movies, going on hikes, window shopping in a mall. All those things will, be kind of like in the food processor of your brain. All those experiences eventually come out in a helpful way. So the more you experience, the more you step away from the task and have some fun, that can actually be really helpful.
I see. What do you guys do on here? Go ahead and share some ideas of just something fun you like to do. That's so random. I like to people watch. I've been taking the train to get to work. I'm in Orange County and I have to commute to LA, and it's far. So I find people watching so interesting. And I'm just like, for me, it's just like, I don't know, it feeds my brain for sure. And I just like watching people interact with each other and how they relate. And I don't know, for me, that's kind of fun. I enjoy that. Gardening. Yeah, people watching at the beach for sure. Gardening's really fun.
Any list. Oh, okay. Edna put that for the keeping the grocery list. Steam cookbox. Nice.
Okay, let's see what other fun ideas there are. Doodle pics of people watching. Yeah, video games is good. Watching a show. We're watching Succession right now. We take breaks and watch that, and it's really fun. Just watching like even movies that you like.
This is kind of this is a nerdy thing, but like I when I'm stressed and I need to just totally take a break.
Yeah, Netflix.
I'll actually go in the backyard and I'll choose a random branch on a tree or a plant, and I'll look at it and I'll try to see how many bugs or little signs of life I can see on that branch. And so if I'm really having a rough time, I'll just go out there and just like kind of like get lost in some of the plants that we have back there and realize like, wow, there's some little mites here. There's some aphids here. That also comes back to the art, of getting the detail right for this bee world that we're creating.
Ooh, live music, taking a walk with the dog. Yeah, I like walking my dog too. Binge reading. Yeah, pure escapism. Outside fires. Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah,
Netflix shows. People watching. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's fun. I like watching people. I don't know, not in like a creepy way, but just fun.
Yeah,
Okay, so next tip, if you want to do this one, John.
sure. So the next one is being easy on yourself. You don't, even though you'll have a to-do list, it's easy to fall into the, oh, I didn't do everything today, or I only got 3 out of 8 things I was supposed to do. Yes, but that's one way to look at it. But the other way is you got 3 things done. You're 3, you're a lot closer to knocking out all those things. And of course, the list will keep adding every day. But you just have to take it easy. And look, you made progress, even if it's one step. Don't compare yourself, friends, colleagues, partners. Be careful of social media, because the doom scroll is a real thing where you're only seeing the happiest part of everyone's life. And so when you're only accomplishing 3 things on your list, and you see everybody on vacation or accomplishing a book deal or something, it can be really tough on you. My therapist actually said this really cool comment, which is, you don't have to be perfect when you're enough. And so just getting it done doesn't have to be perfect. Can make you feel better than trying to achieve that perfection, which will never come. And on that note, therapy, I mean, it's I know it has sometimes a bad rap, but that's a great way to, be easy on your mind and to get another perspective, to bounce ideas off of somebody who's a professional. If you're struggling with, something, doubt, whatever, I found it so helpful after a good therapy session of just like, coming back with a new perspective on things. And then this is what I do a lot. If you've completed a task that wasn't on your list, add it to the list and check it off, right? Just not that we're keeping score on our list, but it's nice to just go, hey, you know what? I did something extra, actually, organize some plants in the garden or something, add that and just cross it off. So that can help you a little bit.
And don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. That's, it's okay for things to be good enough and not perfect, because that holds us up sometimes.
Yeah.
And then tip number 7, rest and ask for help. If you can, ask for help. And that's something I always struggled with. I don't like to ask for help ever, but the last 2 years, I really did have to do that more. Professional help, honest, for my kids and for myself, but also like from family and friends, and taking cooking breaks. We kind of mentioned that earlier, doing takeout more and not feeling bad about it.
Or having the kids cook. They're learning how to cook.
Good. I put them in culinary class this summer, and I'm like, you guys make 1 meal a week, please. So, even if it's hot dogs, I don't care. Well, actually, I do care, but it's okay. That's all right. I'll eat it. But even just, family and friends and neighbors, like if they can't give you like, watch your kids or make food, just encouragement, like asking people, like, I'm having a hard time, I could use some, advice or encouragement. And that can go a long way. And also with the kids, like if you can reach out to any of their friends' parents, say, hey, if you can take them for an hour, I'll take them for an hour next week. You kind of like do that kind of thing. That does help. Coworkers, your coworkers, if you work in you have an employer where you have colleagues, that could be helpful. Your online communities could be helpful, a place to vent or a place to share what's going on. And I really am triggered by toxic positivity. I don't think that's helpful, and it's okay to be positive. It's okay to be hopeful, but it's also really okay to talk about what's hard and what's tough. And so, you got to find people who will validate your experience and not just gloss over it. Discord could have some communities you could get some support from. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, and even though I'm not part of that conversation, the podcast that I'm listening to makes me feel seen and understood and less alone. So I'll listen to a podcast about all kinds of stuff, creativity, but also like parenting, also psychology. I feel like, oh, I understand myself better, or I understand others better, or I understand what I could have done better. So that is a source of help. And again, you've earned rest, and it's important to take that rest without guilt.
One thing I want to make note of is, as far as asking for help, I read somewhere, and I have to find the source, but someone once, whether it was a social scientist or a psychologist, if you ask for help from somebody, they are more likely to respect you and to be feel closer to you. So sometimes, like for me, I always feel like hesitant to ask for help because I feel like I'm burdening somebody. But actually, psychologically, again, this is something I came across at one point. When somebody feels like they can help you and they feel like they can be a part of a struggle or a project, they actually feel closer, and they appreciate sometimes if it's a small ask, to be a part of your life or to be a part of what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And
So
one thing we want to reiterate in this slide is, we have not mastered it. This is not something you'll ever master, this perfect balance. It's ongoing. I have stacks of laundry here next to me that I haven't had time to touch. I have dishes in the sink. It's not going to be ever perfect. And I've learned to make peace with that. My house is not going to look like an IKEA catalog when I have a job, kids, a life, and I have creative goals. It's just not going to happen. So if you want to achieve your creative goals and you work and you have, a life, then you're going to have to make peace with that chaos. And you had a really good metaphor about surfing.
Oh, yeah. So as far as like balance goes, so when I have a chance, I haven't done it in a while, but with surfing, the whole point of surfing is to use that momentum of the wave and to achieve enough balance where you can ride the wave as far as it goes. But whenever you're shifting somewhere, you basically compensate by leaning your body into the opposite direction. So balance is really just about when something is lacking in your life, lean toward that, like go for it. Don't feel ashamed to take a break and lean into the thing that's lacking. And so that's kind of like the surfing metaphor is, to maintain balance, you have to, lean into something that's not there, or leaning, if you feel like you're falling over too far, push the other way.
Yeah, it's a constant shifting.
Yeah.
And then some resources just to share with you guys, great books and podcasts that we want to share pertaining to this topic. Jon, if you want to take the first.
Sure. Yeah. So the Growing Gills is specifically about creatives with a family or with a lot to do, whether it's a full-time job. It's a book for people who have passion projects on the side, and it's also a workbook. And I think she has a blog attached to it too, where there's a PDFs and other things you can do. But yeah, it's very helpful. It's like very actionable things you can do. Each chapter, it kind of builds into this idea of balance and being able to follow your passion and your obligations as well. The other one I really love is Miracle Morning. This one, it gets you to do this morning routine, and Hal Elrod is a guy who is just really motivational guy who had a close brush with death, and after that thought he had lost everything. He lost his job, and but decided to just change his outlook. And so he does this thing called Savers, where you wake up in the morning and you have silence, and that could be just peaceful, quiet, nothing. It could be meditation. Then he has affirmations for the letter of Savers, and that's having a list of things of things you are that you're positive things about yourself. The next one is visualization, and that is he encourages people to create a vision board. So that would be things of where you see yourself in the future. So your goals, but as little visual cues. And then, like, for example, I did a visual board of I photoshopped my head on a Comic-Con panel with like a bunch of surrounded by a bunch of artists, or I did I photoshopped like my art and like a line of people out the door, and I put like book signing or something. So I made these little photoshopped images that I thought, oh, that's cool, just to look at and kind of have this hope for. And then the other one is E, that's exercise. So just getting, whether it's stretching or just small exercise. And then you have R, which is reading. And then the last one is S, which stands for scribing. And that could be writing, like journaling or drawing. And so that's just an easy thing to remember, Savers, but the book goes into much more detail, and it's really, really cool.
And then Atomic Habits, I recently read. I thought it was really helpful in how we can change our lives through tiny changes. And one of the things I was inspired to do by Miracle Morning, actually, and it was a small change, but waking up earlier. I always hated waking up super early, but now it's like the time that I am most productive and I can get stuff done, and it's quiet, the kids are asleep, and I just feel like I can, do what I need to do in the morning. And I wake up at 4:30.
Yeah, that's our quiet time to get stuff done.
Yeah, but then I can't stay up late anymore. So by 8:30, I'm like, Okay, passing out, but that's a different story. And then a couple of podcasts, Creative Pep Talk, always great. That's more about creativity and breaking through, like if you're stuck or you're trying to find your audience, you're trying to like develop your style. I think it's really helpful. And Hidden Brain is more like psychological, super interesting, but I've learned a lot of insights from that podcast, and I always come away with something interesting in that podcast. So I appreciate that. And it teaches me a lot about myself. And then the next slide. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You can check out our Crowdfundr campaign if you'd like to, see what we've been up to. And then if you'd like to be in touch, you can find us on those socials or, through the Crowdfundr campaign. But if you have any questions or thoughts.
I do.
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit more specifically about the 3B honey? And could you say a little bit about the journey with that project? Because I know it's been through so many ups and downs, and there's been a lot of frustrations with it. And I'm so impressed by how dedicated and how you haven't given up.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that story was written several years ago, and it was originally like illustrated prose. Here, I'll put that link in the chat too. And then we decided to make it a graphic novel. I mean, it went through so many revisions and iterations, and then, over time, and this was like several years, we found Jana, we connected with Jana, we took it on submission. No one made an offer, and that was really sad. And so we were trying to figure out like what to do with it. Do we like shelve it? What? And then Jana, thanks to her, we were inspired to keep going with it and put it out as a Crowdfundr campaign. And so that's what we did. And I mean, the last few months have been so crazy because we really had to divide and conquer. I mean, Jon's doing all the art and I did all the administrative stuff, the PR. I learned how to do TikToks, which I'm still figuring out. Honestly, it's so hard. Doing the website, doing the, contacting people, emailing people, and just all that. And it's been a lot. So I don't know if I answered the question, Jana.
But you actually made a point about
I'm still recovering.
So regarding like the idea of publishing traditionally versus crowdfunding, it seems more and more to be the case where publishers are not willing to take as much risk with new up and coming or untested debut authors and artists. And so we see a lot of examples of whether it's web comics or crowdfunding comics or stories are later they're building up an audience through their own means, and then building that audience up and also getting the attention later of publishers. Yeah, that's a good lunch and learn topic, Patrick.
Oh man.
But yeah, so just building up that knowledge of the story, building, people collect the story physically, they have it, they look forward to the next one, you snowball. Every year you get another book in the collection. And so that's the plan with TBH, is to do maybe 48 pages a year, maybe more. But then have that first book available as part of a package. So next year we would have book 2 and book 1. Or people who already have book 1 can buy book 2 by itself. And we see some campaigns that do that, where they just keep building those stories up. Hopefully get the attention of a publisher, or maybe not. Maybe we don't even need the attention of a publisher after a point. There are artists that just get through with Patreon and keep doing the self-publishing thing. But who knows? I mean, so yeah, TBH has been labor of love for a long time.
Yeah. Any other questions?
So I have a question. I scanned your QR code. I'm just looking at your stuff right now. It's pretty impressive because you've got 113% over your goal, which is really cool. So who are these people? Is it just do they include people that you've been marketing to that actually have helped you, or is it mostly just random people on this platform?
Great question.
Yeah, the friends and family came in clutch. But also we've been doing a newsletter for like 2 years.
Okay.
at least a year
Yeah,
and a
there are,
half,
so
yeah.
if we were, we should do a breakdown of all the people that we know, or like some of them are former students that we've taught
Former
that have kind of been
students.
following us through newsletters or social media.
Some of them are people I don't know. Like there's a small amount, probably like a handful.
Yeah, the majority are people we know. And I think, you know, with Crowdfundr being a smaller crowdfunding site that doesn't yet have the built-in random audience of people looking to fund projects like Kickstarter has. Kickstarter has like a built-in group of people who have a newsletter that, you know, like I get Kickstarter updates on things I might like. So it brings me back into all these campaigns. Crowdfundr, I think it does have a version of that, but because they're newer, they don't have that built-in following quite yet. And so for this campaign, we've really lucked out with friends and family to get us started. And so that's probably the biggest chunk of the support.
Okay. I'm just thinking if I did something like this, I wonder if my friends and family would participate.
Yeah,
But
it's
you've got your newsletter also, which I'm just starting. So I think that's fantastic. Thanks for the tips.
sure. Yeah, thank you.
For sure. Yeah, having people on your newsletter would really help, you know, and getting people from there. So setting up that foundation, I think, would make a campaign more successful.
And yeah, Bob makes a point about KCU. And when I say friends and family, I mean like KCU friends as well. We consider you guys friends as well. So people,
Yeah.
I'm saying like people that we personally know make up the majority of the supporters. I mean, there were a couple of people that anonymously donated that we don't know, but I think we'll find out. I guess you have to send it to them. We have to be able to get their address.
Oh,
So-
Patrick, you have a question?
Well, I have a comment and a question, so I'll just throw the comment out there in regards to like what we're talking about with crowdfunding. This is what my crowdfunding mentors have explained to me, right? There's kind of a direct correlation with your first campaign and your friends and family. And part of the goal with crowdfunding is to gradually swap out the friends and family with the new readers that will be discovering, you know, the first volume along with the second volume and subsequent volumes as the campaigns run, right? So the idea is that little by little, the newsletter grows, and it grows from the new people who are being introduced to the campaign as you do subsequent campaigns. And so then the friends and family portion kind of reduces, but usually that first campaign is very much friends and family. So that's something for everyone to kind of like take into consideration. But my question is, if you two have an idea already in terms of like that breakdown with regards to friends and family, or with regards to like your like the number of people from the newsletter, like the volume of your newsletter subscribers and how many of them translate, because we were talking about newsletters earlier, right? So how many of them translate to like letters actually open, and then ultimately, you know, the actual contributing factor.
Yeah, we'll
That's
have to do all that. I mean, I'd love to go back at the end of this, like do like a post-mortem, like data mining.
Forensic.
Yeah, kind of figure out
analysis.
where all the numbers fall. But another point I want to make as far as crowdfunding is that when you get funded, or at least what we budgeted for, I think was how many comics?
I forgot. How
Like
many.
250 or
Yeah,
something
250.
copies. Sorry. So whatever we don't sell, our plan is to now go to conventions. And so it's another way to promote. You know, I've done the convention circuit. Let me just tell you, this is I may have mentioned this in a past lunch and learn, but I learned the hard way that having a cute looking character or really cool characters or whatever is not enough, right? So I had stickers made of Chubbicorn. I had prints of all his little friends, but I had no story. And so I did Anime Expo for 2 years. I did a variety of other local comic conventions. And so often people would come up, they'd be drawn to the art and they'd try to, you could tell they're kind of calculating, they're figuring out, have I seen this before? What is this? Do I relate to this? Do I know this? And so I would do a whole pitch. They're like, well, Chubbicorn, and I do this whole energetic pitch, and the person would end with, well, good luck with that. Yeah, I hope to see it out sometime. And then they'd walk away. And then they'd go next door and buy, ooh, Naruto, and they'd buy fan art. And so what I found was, you know, you have to cover one of 3 categories when doing a convention. One is your work is already famous. It's well known through narratives or stories. Number 2 is it's relatable. So if you do all artwork about cats, people love cats, they'll buy the work. And then, and the third thing is, of course, you know, fan art. And so So those three things, like when I say famous, I mean famous on its own terms, like your own project that's well known. You'll have a fan base that goes, oh, I want to buy the physical things. I've seen it online for so long. So anyway, back to what I was saying to Patrick is like having those physical copies. Now we have a story, you know, sure, we can have stickers too and prints, but that story is first and foremost to get it into people's hands at a convention.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Any other questions or
Could I
thoughts?
make a comment just of tying in what we were talking about regarding the lunch and learn that we had earlier today about newsletters with what we're talking about now? One of the numerical pieces of information that Mike shared in the newsletter lunch and learn today is that he has something like 14,000 Instagram followers and he has about 400 subscribers to his newsletter. So the difference is so extreme, but he said the newsletter has resulted in actual income for him far beyond what, like he said, it's not even close. Like basically he has never gotten any income from the 14,000 followers on Instagram, whereas he regularly is booking workshops and teaching gigs through the newsletter. So it's really interesting.
yeah.
That is interesting.
I think maybe it's just more of a people feel a personal connection. You know, like with our newsletters, we always include what art we're doing.
Kind of answering Roger's question.
Oh yeah, and by the way, beekeeper groups. Yes, Roger, I am a part of OCBA, Orange County Beekeepers Association.
Oh, awesome.
And I did try this year I reacted too late. Right now it's fair season where we are. So their biggest fundraiser is running this fair. And so they didn't have time to deal with me posting my little I was too late. So if I had done it months in advance, they would have been all about it. But
But I mean, even like across the nation too, of like it's still a comic that especially other people who are beekeeping, they would be definitely interested, I think.
Oh yeah. We need to think bigger like that. You're right.
So for the newsletter for the couple years, I mean, we honestly, the newsletter is still like, I feel for me is a work in progress because I've been kind of stuck at the same number of people. They're like loyal, high opening rate, like 82% opening rate, but not a lot of people. So I'm like trying to figure out how to grow that, to be honest. But for me, I just write like slice of life, little reflections. I insert like memes. That's kind of like my fun little thing I do. I make memes
like
and stuff.
relatable memes. Yeah.
So do that and share book recommendations, pet photos, you know, like things like that. And writing updates when they apply, but not always. So yeah, it's been a little tricky to kind of like, you know, grow that list, but I think, I don't know. I'm going to keep working on that.
I think, but back to like what Jan was saying with the turnover rate, I think it does come down to being as personal as you can. With social media, it's so easy to just scroll through quickly. Like the person gets 1 second to try to appeal. Even if you're a follower, you're just scrolling really quick. But a newsletter, you're sitting down, you're spending about a minute or so, maybe 1 to 5 minutes. And with ours, we'll, like you said, we'll do sections of what we're up to. We do beehive updates. We do like live footage and video of feeds of how our hive's doing. We'll do what we're currently reading. I'll do my video game updates. I'm playing Diablo 4 right now. So I'll do like updates on my character and all the armor and cool stuff. And so I think being personal like that, you have more of a chance to slow it down and people can really get to know behind the scenes, I think, with a newsletter rather than social media is just a quick little, flyby.
And the bee cam, we were going to do like a funny little thing with our beehive. Unfortunately, the new queen we bought, she wasn't, okay, the eggs she was laying were not worker bees. They were drones and the hive was like basically not doing well. So we're like, they're kind of starting over.
Yeah.
So I felt like, do we want to show a bee cam of like a really
of a dying hive? Yeah. So our first hive of bees were feral. We lured a feral hive. They're totally wild. We actually at the peak of harvest, we were able to get 101 pounds of honey off this hive. It was 4 boxes high. They're doing great. Then they absconded. I let them swarm because we like to let them propagate, but I let them swarm too much and they took off. So ever since then, we've been buying packages of bees and have had horrible luck with that. So
my fix right now, honestly, is I dressed up my Boston Terrier in a bee suit and had her running around the backyard. like, look at our little special bee.
Yeah.
Like, She's like the honorary bee, but I don't know. I'm trying to be creative and funny with it, even though, you know, the actual hive itself is struggling to get off the ground, pun intended. But as far as bite-sized quick memes, webtoons, and zines, yeah, I feel like people like, you know, bite-sized things. They don't have the attention span, right? So what is that phrase, listicles or something? Like it's an article that's actually like a bullet point list. But I, you know, in my newsletter, I try to like make each section like short, you know, funny, entertaining, but like not too long.
What's funny is MailChimp will ding you if, I don't know if you guys have MailChimp, but they'll say your newsletter was too long. It should be read in under 45 seconds or so. They're like, they have some like super short time limit. And I thought, wow, like under a minute to read it. Okay. So they really kind of, they know, like they have their algorithms, they know how much time people spend reading stuff, and you know, so it's
so I think short but regular, consistent is best rather than long, infrequent, or inconsistent.
look at Artist Alley at the end to Maj. Oh my gosh. All right, Roger, I'm gonna look that up.
We need to write that down.
That's the MailChimp thing is super interesting to me, because like you mentioned Jake Parker, and like his are super ridiculously long, and he's got like 7 sections about like each different thing, and I'm like, it's intense. Like it's not a 45-second scroll.
That's weird that
I black out. Like I can't.
That's interesting though. I mean, I think it's just maybe he's marketed himself as being like very instructional, and like you're getting like a free lesson, because I know he does a school, he has his own educational what is it, schoolism or something.
Yes, SIS something.
Yeah, so maybe that's more of a professorial kind of approach to get like a long-winded, you know, newsletter.
So I have to hop on a call for work with Honda. So
But
John, take over, because this was my lunch break actually.
Oh, it was so
thanks,
great.
Desi.
Bye, Desi.
Yeah, you don't have to stay on. I don't really have much.
Well, actually, can I make a comment following up on Bob's question about you asked do bite-sized memes, webtoons, and zines help you build up quickly a fan base? I'm going to say I have a lot of passion on this, that I think in almost every case, the people that we think of as being super successful, it's almost always a curve that looks like this. It's like slow, and then it starts going up. And we forget about that long period of time when there's like, you know, a tiny little audience, a little bigger, tiny audience, you know.
Yeah.
And it's impossible, I think, to avoid that. I mean, there are these stories about viral successes on TikTok and places like that, and I'm sure there are cases where it's not a flash in the pan, but I think in our business, it almost never happens that it's just like, boom, it's quick. I just think take the word quick out of your vocabulary.
You know, there's a phrase that I say around the house, and I say it bitterly sometimes, and it's no one cares until everyone cares.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's kind of how it works. But
yeah, I think
but it is a slow burn. It's another phrase. It's like overnight success after 10 years or something. Like yeah. Let's see. Eugene, Oregon. Okay. Oh, Blessed Be Tattoo. Oh my gosh. That is like best of both worlds right there.
I knew you would like that. And I have to tell you, all I did was just look up this friend that I know who is really one big activist, and I've seen that he's gotten out there. I saw that he has 35 hives now, or I don't know if that's up to date. But
wow.
When I didn't expect to go to LinkedIn. When I went there, that's when I started seeing other names. So like this kind of search is the kind of search I never remember to do for myself.
Right.
But always think of for other people, especially when you've got some niche like that.
Yeah.
And that biggest crowdfunder that, not crowdfunder, it was a Kickstarter campaign that I knew about. Was just random that I, learned about webinar and hardly anybody attended it, where he was talking about it, and I got his name wrong. It's Jerry Zhang. I thought it was Peter before, but Jerry Zhang, who like wrote his first book and, you know, and went in as a lawyer and got like $70,000 when he was only looking to get 5. And part of it was because timing, you know, whatever, but also it was Asian American project. And he hit before that parents groups, Asian American parents, got it out. And he swore that he didn't plan this, but maybe it was subconscious, you know, it came out just when the Lunar New Year event was happening. So some magazine in Asian American, you know, picked up on what he was doing and helped promote him for free without him asking. So
Sure.
Making those kind of links is sometimes hard with timing, but, you know, it's so easy when we're like wrapped up in all this other stuff to not be promoters for ourselves and or not know how to not think outside the box, because these people have a stake. You're writing, you know, it's a sweet book, but it's about an important issue, and there can't be enough that goes out. If we don't have bees and like the next book that you're probably going to work on, this pollinator, we won't have food.
Right.
So
You're right about, I mean, just thinking bigger, going out and looking at these insect groups and conservation groups. I think that would be a good, I think that's I think you're just giving me my next week's task. Let's put on the old list. But yeah, definitely is a great idea.
Can I also say something more? Sorry, you're getting me really fired up here. But I want to give some feedback to you, Jon, in front of everybody here, because I think everybody here probably needs to hear the same message. So you gave the most fantastic presentation. I think all of us enjoyed it so much. I loved how thoughtful you were, that it had humor and it had exercises that we did that were directly applicable to us. And then at the very end, you're like, and here's our project, it's 3B Honey.
So I will say this.
Didn't you just, and I think I see this happening a lot, and I almost feel like you have to pretend that you're, you know, on stage in your high school play or something, and it's your job to like sell the hell out of your project at the end, and it's hard to do it. So you have to practice it. But I wanted to hear more about 3B Honey and all that love that you poured into your presentation. I wanted to end with the same love for the project.
Yeah, sure. Hey, thank you for that. That's definitely good to know. I will say the first compliment you gave, that's Desi. The activities, that's her teacher mode. So she gets kudos for the organization and the activity little additions there. But yeah, that's a good point. I think just as artists, I think we can all kind of like relate to this. Like, we are horrible salespeople. It's so hard to ask someone to buy something, or like, you know, you'll put I always was kind of taught, like, let the work speak for itself, right? So like I was trained in the fine arts.
I'm back. It was a short meeting.
Wait, let me finish my thought. So like I was always taught, like, you know, put your work on the wall. You can have an artist statement, but get away from the artwork. Don't stand there at opening and going, well, no, actually, it's not what it's about. You know, like you'll never be able to do that in a museum. So step away, let it sell itself. So that maybe that comes through in not, you know, being like a step right up, folks, check this out, you know, kind of thing. But she had good feedback. I'll tell you later.
Fill me in later.
Yeah.
Can I just barge in with a comment following what Jana just said about the whole P.T. Barnum approach, I guess I could say. Like there's an iteration, right, in some like an alternate universe where the workshop used more examples of the development of 3B Honey over the course of the activities and over the course of everything that you were doing, so that by the end of that workshop, it really would be about 3B Honey along with the lesson that you were conveying, right? And the reason why I mentioned that is because something that I've gone on excessively during the Crowdfundr crucible sessions was to kind of take oneself out of the equation with regards to one's art, right? Because the important, like what's most important isn't the artist's humility or like, you know, I'm not gonna be annoying to people. What's most important is as many people as possible have the opportunity to experience this utterly unique thing that is nowhere else, right? That's the thing that makes crowdfunding and indie production, you know, really valuable, because it's more than likely it's not AI generated, and it's definitely not like corporate owned, right? It's an indie product, and you know, there's almost a responsibility creators have to be like, this is important because it's like an endangered species, right? Independently produced art is an endangered species, you know. So one more reason to eliminate that whole reflex to say I can't talk about this and I can't, you know, because our art, those creations need proponents, which is something I also mentioned about how right here in this chat, you know, Roger and Bonnie were being great examples of acting as proponents for 3B Honey just by getting excited and just by offering up their own resources here in a very private scenario. And so that's that same opportunity that we can all turn outwards, right? So that everyone can kind of support each other's thing. And it doesn't have to be like a transactional and mercenary. It could still be born out of inspiration.
You know, it's funny. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, just thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
So no, you know, it's funny. So planning this, so behind the scenes of this workshop, our number one goal was to provide great resources of balance. The whole TBH wasn't even the conversation. And you know, it would have been great to use what we're currently obsessed with and working day in and day out on. It should have been something as a sample. Here's what we did for planning our comic. But the point of this whole thing was to provide great resources for this, being a chaotic artist, you know, whether you have a day job that takes away from your art time, or a family that can be, you know, a very busy lifestyle. So yeah, the priority wasn't to sell anything. It was just to give really good, actionable things for creating life balance. But you're right. Having what we're doing right now as a great example of what we're creating as an example would have been better. But yeah, thank you.
If we can navigate that, you guys can do what you want to do, honestly. Because I mean, I taught full-time English, and that was like being an air traffic controller. And I went through a career transition. I started a whole new career a month ago, and you know, all while being a baseball mom and keeping up with all this other stuff. But somehow we were able to get 3B Honey into the atmosphere. You know?
Yeah, she was last year. She was taking classes for how to be a copywriter, full-time classes. She was freelancing as a copywriter for 2 or 3 different organizations, and she was full-time teaching AP Lit and freshman honors while being a mom, while being, you know, like, it's just crazy. Like I'm in awe of how she did that.
But I mean, you know, like I said, it's not impossible for people, and it is hard, and it does really require intention, you know, a lot of intention every day, and a lot of like reflection and grace. Give yourself grace, and it's okay. You're gonna be okay, and it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah. So thanks for coming to our TED Talk.
Thank you guys for coming. Yeah. I'm glad you guys came, and I'm glad, you know, I hope that everybody took something from this. And, you know, we're always here to support everybody. And, you know, we're here if you have any questions or you want more information. We're happy to help you guys.
If everybody could unmute yourself, I definitely would like us all to say thank you. But sorry, I think I interrupted you.
Oh, no, I was going to ask, is there a way, like, there's such great links and resources that you guys provided. Is there a way we can save that chat as well?
Yeah, the chat, Zoom automatically changes it. I mean, sorry, saves it. So I could download it and send
great.
it.
Okay. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. That was amazing.
This was just
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye. Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.